Hello, everyone.
Hey there, folks. This is Rita.
This is Amanda.
And you're listening to
I Don't Know Her,
the podcast about women and some other folks that you've probably never heard of.
But you absolutely should have at this point.
And today you will.
So I have a thing I want to talk about.
What's your thing?
Breasts.
I like breasts.
I like them on other people. I personally hate them.
Okay.
And I think I've talked about this a little bit on the podcast. The day I came out by accident.
That's right.
As a non-binary person. So this is the year I'm going to try to get my top surgery.
Okay.
That's my big goal. Actually, I have two big goals for 2021.
Okay.
One, write a rough draft of a young adult thriller that I've had working out in my head for a year. And two, try to get some top surgery done.
Okay. Those are big goals.
They really, truly are. Figure I'm in the late 30s. Gotta go big.
Just roll with it.
So the reason why I want to talk about breasts is because our country is really fucked about them.
In a way that they're exploited and then also hated at the same time, or?
Yeah, there's that. And they get to be the property of other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that's really upsetting to me at the moment. I have another friend who wants to have a breast reduction done. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want done. I don't want a full top surgery, at least not at this time in my life. I don't believe. I'm still a little iffy on that. Mm-hmm. But I really want the majority of them gone. And I have for a very long time. This is not new. This is not a 2020 or 2021 revelation. My wife can attest to
been a long time coming.
Me trying to shove them down, make them smaller for the entire time we've been together, So I have another friend who is a fat woman who also wants to have a breast reduction done. Mm-hmm. Her doctors, so she's already had her consultation, she talked to a doctor. She can't even have the consultation done until she, 1, loses 80 pounds, 2, goes to a chiropractor, which she doesn't believe in, and 3, does physical therapy.
What are these 3 things supposed to lead up to? What do they want her to be at the end of these 3 things?
Thinner.
Okay.
And therefore, maybe you still want your breasts because now they're smaller.
Okay.
Which is, I'll get to that problem in a minute. 2, they want to rule out that her weight is what is causing her medical issues connected to having breasts. Large breasts. Mm-hmm. So she has been that thin before, the weight that they want her to be at. And even when she was that thin, she had double D breasts.
Oh, that'd be painful.
That's what I have right now. Mm-hmm. They have, I waver between a double D and an E.
Whoa.
They're fucking huge. I don't want them. I don't like them. They, obviously for me, there's a gender dysphoria that happens. Mm-hmm. But I have had many women in my life who don't want their giant breasts because they don't like them. They hurt.
Mm-hmm. They're uncomfortable. Yeah.
Mine have caused scoliosis.
Yikes.
I didn't have usually scoliosis is something you kind of develop as a teen, like an adolescent teen. And they kind of find it in you when you're young and they can try to start correcting it. I didn't have scoliosis till I was in my 30s.
Jeez.
Because my breasts are so big, and now that I'm getting older, they're not as perky, so the weight is just in the center of my body. Mm-hmm. And so they're pulling me down all the time, literally pulling my shoulders in, pulling my shoulders down. I have rib pain. My spine feels condensed because of it. I have neck pain. I have scoliosis. So those are medical reasons. For me, the medical reasons are not the primary reason. Mm-hmm. I want mine off because I think that would affirm who I am. Mm-hmm. I could wear the clothes I want to wear. That would then also affirm my identity. And thankfully, my insurance does have a section for gender confirmation surgery. Like, it does cover that.
Oh, wow.
Now, whether or not they'll decide I am the candidate for that.
And that boggles my mind because they get to decide what you do.
Yes.
Like you're saying, no, this is what I need, A, and this is B, what I want. And then they get to say, well, we don't think you should. Like,
yeah.
Who gives them the right?
That's like I talked about on the show before that, doctors will tell women of childbearing age they can't have a hysterectomy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not your choice, buddy. That's what I want done for my medical needs. So, I said I want to get back to the actual weight part. I'm fairly confident that they're going to tell me I have to lose weight first too. And I have such a huge problem with this.
Mm-hmm.
Your weight at whatever it is, your body wants to be at that weight. Like, my body wants to be this weight.
Mm-hmm.
This is the weight my body is at. Like, give or take 5 pounds. This is what I have been at since I probably turned 30.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, in that time, run a marathon.
You're really active,
Yeah,
too.
I've done half marathons. 2 summers ago, because we couldn't in summer 2020, I did a duathlon, and I came in 4th in my age division. I'm not, I'm an active person.
Mm-hmm.
And at this weight, I'm under the BMI scale, which is a bunch of junk science to begin with. But that's what they use to determine how much weight you have to lose in order to have a breast reduction. So in that category, I'm technically overweight. So they're going to probably ask me to lose probably 20 pounds in order to have the surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And that does not make sense, because then if I have the surgery when I'm 20 pounds less than I weigh right now, and then immediately after the surgery, my body goes back to where it likes to be.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to have too much breast. And I'm going to have the surgery again.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's such a dumb, fat-phobic, misogynistic, shitty idea of how you determine someone's worth of getting a much-needed surgery.
I feel like it's almost like a tactic to deter people from getting the surgery done, because then it's a wall that they have to get over, and some people can't do it.
And it's obviously so based in a patriarchal medical system.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was men who determined these really arbitrary ideas and qualifications. Men who decided, we don't want to cut down a woman's breast size. Come on, guys, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And that it just feels really gross. If a woman walks in and she weighs 200 pounds and she says, I want to go from these double G's down to, I don't know, a manageable C.
Yeah.
She shouldn't be then told you need to lose 80 pounds or 70 pounds or 50 pounds in order for us to do that.
Yeah.
It's asinine. It's also unrealistic.
Yeah. And the fact that somebody can have 32 surgeries on their face.
Yep.
And nobody says anything.
So I think if you went into a cosmetic surgery office and you said, I want to have my breasts done, and you just paid for it out of pocket, you'd have no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want insurance to pay for it because it is a medical problem, in the case of my friend, they get to dictate, okay, if you want us to pay for this surgery, you have to do X, Y, and Z in order for us to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's also why they use that as a deterring factor, is because of the money.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to have to pay for it.
Yeah, I guess they envision that there would be hordes of women and other people with breasts running to their doctor's offices if they let down some of these barriers. But it to me, it's just, it is archaic to have these really, really prescriptive requirements of people in order to do something that would improve their quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
I can go get LASIK eye surgery and they'll pay for that.
Yeah.
That's a quality of life surgery. I don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
My glasses work just fine. But if I was I really want to be able to go around and not wear glasses all the time, my insurance would cover a portion of that LASIK surgery.
Yeah.
What's the difference? How about if I went to my doctor and I said, I really hate this acne, and they prescribed me Accutane?
Yeah.
My insurance will cover that. That's cosmetic.
Yeah.
It's about a quality of life. It's
incredibly frustrating.
It is so frustrating. And I'm having my first conversation with doctors on Tuesday about it. So I'm nervous about it. And I'm really... The thing I fear the most is that I'm going to be told, one, that, like, I don't qualify.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm worried about with the qualification thing is that either they're going to invalidate my gender dysphoria, which is related, like, that's the reason I'm going in.
Yeah.
Or they're going to say, you don't have the medical problems to require it.
Yeah.
And so, like, because I have 2 columns I can get the surgery done under. One is you have some back problems and pain in your spine and stuff like that we can justify getting it done. Or we can go under the transgender stuff and say it's a gender confirmation surgery. But, like, I'm nervous that under either of those things, they're going to say either I'm not trans enough or I'm not medical.
Almost like use each of them to, like, negate.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really concerned. I'm worried. And I think it would just be crushing to be told I can't get it done. And honestly, I think if they do, I'm just going to see if I can get it done on my own and do a payment plan and just pay for it myself. Because it is really important to me. And it's been important to me for a really long time. And I kept thinking for years that I would just get it done when I'm older. And then I realized, like, by the time I'm old enough that that I'll be able to get it done because it'll be medically necessary, I will have spent decades of my life in pain and in dysphoria. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to get it done.
I'm excited and I'm nervous now for you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So nervous.
That's a big one.
I know.
I didn't know it was going to be this week.
Yep, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
So by the time we talk next time, I will have something to report.
Alrighty.
Let's hope it's good news and that my worries are all for naught.
All right. I mean, I'm not worried at all.
Not at all. No one's worried here.
No, not at all. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's reach for the stars and ask for all the energy, please.
Yeah. By the time you all are hearing this, I will have already had my appointment. So hopefully I will have gotten, I mean, honestly, more than likely this first appointment, I'll probably just get like a referral to a surgeon or something. I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll take it step by step.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
But anyway, down with the patriarchy. Let's burn it to the ground. Because it's so dumb that we have all of this gatekeeping.
So fucking stupid.
For bodies that have vaginas and breasts. Like these things we just have on our bodies that we don't, we don't have any control over. They get to dictate how the medical establishment treats us.
I did try to explain to a male coworker of like trying to explain like what it feels like. And I was like, do you understand? Like, I don't have control of my uterus most of the time. The government does. And I said, they don't have control over your dick. And I said, so, you can do whatever you fucking want with it. And he's like, well, it's not like I just pull it out and show people. And I said, see, your greatest worry is to whether or not you just are going to show somebody. I'm worried about fucking birth control. And if I want to have a hysterectomy because I don't want any more children and I can't do it. So I have to spend more years on birth control because I can't get that done. And your little worry is whether or not you have enough self-control to whip it out. I think one's a little greater than the other.
Yeah, that's like that Margaret Atwood quote, right? Like, men are afraid that women will reject them. Women are afraid that men will kill them.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's our same issue with the state. Men are afraid that, like, I guess men's biggest worry about their penis is somebody might not like it.
Yep.
Our biggest worry is, will they control our very essence all the time?
Yeah. Or will this body part kill me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be allowed to kill me. And obviously a bigger concern, especially for Black women.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to take this moment briefly to remind our listeners that I do not identify as a woman. Remember, I identify as a non-binary person. So I know nobody means harm, but I just want you to know that when you're making, writing us comments or replying to things or what have you, be careful in your language. We're not gals because I'm not a gal.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not ladies because I'm not a lady. And I know you don't mean harm and you just want to support us, but just be
aware.
Be aware of your language.
Yeah, definitely. As Amanda has come out, it's made me more aware and it's made me more vigilant. Honestly, my last name is Vigil, so there you go.
That's like last week we were talking about Vicky Draves. Her name was Win-Win.
Oh, yeah.
And before we get going too much, I do want to tell everybody that we have opened up a TeePublic store. Mm-hmm. So TeePublic is really cool. They are a small company that supports independent artists. So because of that, we get a portion of the profits. We actually get 11% of everything is sold. Plus we get, because it's our design, we also get a set amount of each item. We get a dollar amount. So we get a sales amount plus we get a dollar amount. And it's a really good option for people like us who don't have we're not working for a corporation. We don't have employees. Mm-hmm. It would be difficult for us to manage all of the stuff that comes along with a store. We want to eventually get to a place where we have our own web store on our own website, but this is a great stopover for us. I do know, because we've had a couple of people already order stuff, that they were like, oh my God, the shipping is really high. It is. I'm really sorry about that. Obviously we have no control over how much the shipping is. I just wanted to sort of bookmark that or bookend it with saying that, again, TeePublic supports independent artists. Mm-hmm. That's not a great business model. That's why things like Amazon exist.
Yeah.
Because supporting independent artists is not going to make you a ton of money. So they're doing whatever they can in order for them to stay afloat and continue to support independent artists. Also, as a company, they have some really great ethical policies. They support environmental policies. They also, for every mask that you order, which I'm personally excited about the masks.
Me too.
For every mask that you order, they donate a medical grade mask to medical people.
So it's all good things.
Yeah. So I know that because someone ordered the other day and it was a pretty heavy shipping charge and they were like, holy shit. And they kind of had sticker shock. And I was like, I totally get that. Mm-hmm. But hopefully now you're hearing that and you won't be as surprised by it when you go to do it. But please do support us there. If you're not interested in that, that's cool. Support us on Patreon. If that's not something you want to do, you can also
keep telling your friends about us.
Yeah, you can tell your friends about our show, spread the word, continue to share and like our posts on social media, because we're actually getting hit really hard there because they changed the algorithm again. So a quarter of the people that used to see our stuff are now seeing it. So we've lost 70% of our viewers to our social media posts, which sucks. And also, if you're just hey, I just want to help you guys out one time, you can always send us cash via the Cash App. Our or my handle is AV, capital AVM, AV Mead. So,
all
right. So now that we've got all of our business stuff taken care of, who do you have today?
I have a feeling you might know who this person is.
Well, with 10 pages, I'm like, that person has a lot of story.
Do you know who Irene Maud Lentz is?
What's her last name?
Lentz. Lentz.
I don't know who she is.
Okay, good. I was a little worried.
I don't know her.
American fashion and costume designer.
Ooh, I'm excited though. I sit here in sweatpants and a men's t-shirt. And obviously I care a lot about fashion.
Yeah. I'm not even bathed. So, oh no, I washed today. That's right. Yeah.
I didn't. I'm doing it later.
Now that you know that, let's move on. All right. So Irene was born December 8th, 1901 in Brookings, South Dakota.
Oh my God, Brookings, South Dakota.
Oh, yeah.
That is a rural town.
Yes. And she goes from one rural town to another. In 1910, her parents, Emil and Maud Lentz, moved to Baker, Montana.
I cannot believe I don't know who this is.
See, that's why I was like, either it was like the Montonian thing, or is it
Montonian?
Montanian?
Montanan.
Whatever. Montanan.
The eye roll I got on that was epic.
So they raised Irene and her brother on a ranch. Couldn't find much info about the brother. Like, couldn't even find his name. It was just like brother. That was it. Even when I Googled her family, he didn't pop up.
So he doesn't matter.
Yeah,
apparently.
I don't think he did anything. I could find very little about her upbringing through mainstream sources, but I found this website called the Montana Mint. It had so much information on and had all these old clippings of the Baker newspaper articles. So shout out to the Montana Mint. I found more on there than I did the LA Times on her background.
Yes. You know, Montanans are really into their own history.
Really?
So I found that to be true. Like there's that Montana Women's History
okay.
project. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So great.
I wonder if she's on there. I didn't even think to look.
I bet she's on there.
So what I found out from the website was that her father, Emil, co-owned a general store with his brother. Her town was very small.
Yeah,
it's
Baker
still
is
very small.
Very small.
It was intimate, the kind of place where everybody knew everybody else's business, but it was a really charming atmosphere. I mean, ranches, kind of a small town, homey feel.
Yeah, that's when Abby moved to Montana,
Yeah.
that's the first town we drove through.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. And it has a sign outside as you enter town that says, "Welcome to Baker, Montana, the wavingest town in America."
The wavingest?
The wavingest.
Oh my
as
God.
in
So everybody wave?
Yeah, everybody waves to you while you drive by.
Because now they have to. It's on a sign.
It's on a sign.
So Irene was taught sewing by her mother. She was very skilled at it. She played the piano. She sang. She participated in recitals for her church and school. She was part of the literary society. She was on the debate team, and she also played guard for her high school basketball team. So
until we got to there, I was like, "Is she me?" But no, I did not play on the basketball team.
she kept pretty busy. If you need, and that's a lot of after-school activities. When she graduated high school, her class was only the fourth class to graduate from the school. Like the fourth graduating class.
Yeah, that's a small town.
Which I can relate to because my high school, I was the fifth graduating class.
Really? You went to a new school?
Yep, brand new. Irene definitely showed signs of having talent. She had big dreams of pursuing a career in music. After graduating, Maud moved with her 10-year-old son and an 18-year-old Irene to LA.
Holy shit, that's a change.
Yeah.
Oh my
and
God.
I feel like Irene was probably like, I want to go. And her mom's like, I'm going with you. Like, she's not going to send her 18-year-old daughter to LA by herself.
To Los Angeles from Baker, Montana?
Yeah.
Guys, the wavingest town in America is filled with like 45 people.
I looked up, I think the population was like really pretty dismal. It was small.
Baker, I think, so I only have one memory of Baker from high school because I was on the speech and drama team and we had a competition there. And it's far enough away we had to do an overnight. And we stayed in this like sketchy motel, not a hotel, because they didn't have hotels in Baker. It's too small.
Yeah.
So we had a motel, and I think maybe they had 2,000 people. Because our town was like 1,500.
Yeah.
And so I think it was slightly larger, and that was 20 years ago. So it might be smaller at this point.
Yeesh. Her original goal was to become a concert pianist, and she enrolled in music classes at the University of Southern California. It was a really slow start for her. Obviously, trying to break into the business is not easy. I mean, there you've got hundreds, thousands of people that are all trying to do the same thing. So to make ends meet, her mother got a job as a maid at a hotel, and Irene got a job as a counter sales girl at a drugstore. Here is when she had a chance run-in with a man named F. Richard Jones. Jones just so happened to be the producer and chief director for Mack Sennett. So Mack Sennett at the time was the owner, director, and producer of Keystone Studios. Now, Irene was very striking, and I might have fallen in love with her a little bit. She had a very strong-looking face. She was really beautiful. She just had like this fierceness behind her face, and she had these really dreamy, romantic eyes. Like I really fell in love with her face. Mm-hmm. So she's not bad looking. So what I'm guessing is Richard saw her and was like, "Hey, honey, I'm in the movies, trying to impress this counter girl." But however their interaction happened, Richard ends up bringing Irene to the studio for an interview for a position at the studio. So originally, she started out as staff, as a production assistant. And at this time, Richard was starting out as a director, and he offered some B parts to Irene in his film. Like, she never was the star. She was just kind of always the person in the background. They were silent films, and there were a lot of slapstick comedies. And so it's like, the silent films where they're all running around and then they bump into each other and they all fall down.
Those
and they're all
my favorites.
They're pretty funny. So she was in movies like that.
Yeah, like Buster Keaton is my favorite.
She appeared in the films titled Bathing Beauties, which was kind of different because they wore pretty revealing modern bathing suits. So they had it was a film of them like running around, and then they were like exercising on the beach, and then they were like singing and dancing. So it was just like these girls in bathing suits.
It's like an early softcore porn.
Yes. Another movie was called Picking Peaches and A Tailor-Made Man. Her own town of Baker, Montana, featured her films at the local theater.
Aww.
And they put it up on the reader like, our local gal is on the screen. I thought that was really cute that they were like, when someone leaves and something big happens and it's in the newspaper, and I could just imagine everybody was excited about it.
Yeah, I absolutely know what that's like, because in Montana, like, we know every famous person who's ever come from us. That's why I'm shocked I don't know who she is. Because we have like Phil Jackson, who coached the Bulls, and
I didn't know he was from Montana.
Dana Carvey, and it's a very short list, all right? It's a very short list.
Also during these years, her relationship with Richard turned intimate.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
I feel like that was his goal from the start.
From the beginning, yeah. She went on to be in a total of 8 films directed between Richard and Mack Sennett between the years of 1921 to 1925. Since it was only 8 films over 4 years, she was still working as a PA throughout this time. She was also helping with set design, and she was helping the actors with makeup and dress. Around 1924, she attended a night course randomly in fashion. It was fashion design. She had a friend that had signed up, and she didn't want to go to the course alone because it was at night. And so she wanted to go with a friend just so that, safety in numbers kind of thing.
Yeah.
So after sitting in on the course, Irene realized that it wasn't music that she wanted to do anymore. She said this was it. She wanted to design. She wanted to be part of it. So she left her music behind, and she enrolled in the Wolf School of Design. She was there from 1924 to 1926, and after finishing design school, she and Richard decided to go into business together. So they opened up a small boutique on the USC campus where Irene plainly said she dressed co-eds.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. No. I think, young people determine often what the fashion trends are.
If I saw there was a clothing store on campus, I'd be shopping at the clothing store. I think it's a pretty good place to get some business.
Yeah, no kidding. you really have like a captive audience.
Yeah,
people live there on campus. They eat on campus. They sleep on campus. You know what I mean? They never, like, when I lived on campus, I very rarely left campus.
Yeah,
so
it's
to
your
be
hub.
able to go shopping would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
I would have loved that. The only shopping we did was at the bookstore, and we got sweatshirts.
Keychains.
Yeah.
So her shop was a place where she could personally fit and tailor young women, and Irene said it was a huge hit. So this is a quote from Irene. The campus shop was a great success from the beginning. The dresses were cheap, and I think they had a certain flair. But the real reason for my rushing trade was the fact that my store was the only place on campus that the girls could smoke.
I did not see that one coming.
She says cigarettes were strictly against the rules everywhere else. So I always had the shop full of prospective clients and they were all smoking.
Can you imagine how gross that place would smell?
She said
and all the clothes.
The place was so full of smoke so much of the time that my doctor wouldn't believe him when I told him I didn't smoke because she was being affected by the smoke.
Oh, of course she was.
Yeah.
Can you imagine trying to go in and look at clothes and you're like, I can't see this design pattern. There's too much smoke in the room.
Way I see it is like you're having fun. You're probably sitting there chilling like with your friends. You're having a smoke. One of your friends is getting a dress made. Like that to me sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I think I would replace that with champagne and have a good time. Smoke bothers me so much.
I know it does. I miss it. I mean, I'm 2 years, no cigarettes, but sometimes I look at a cigarette and I'm like, looks good.
I'm doing the softest, quietest claps for Rita for not smoking for 2 years.
So her shop was gaining buzz, and she said this about when she realized talk about her clothes was reaching Hollywood. So she said, it was a big day when Dolores Del Rio walked into the store and bought an evening gown for $45. I didn't know how she learned about me, Irene said, but she was wonderful. Many a woman would not have told a soul where she'd bought the dress, because of course you want to keep that on lock.
Of course.
You're like, I don't know where I got this. It's one of a kind.
It's one of a kind. It was made for me. You don't get to know where I got it.
But Dolores told everybody she knew, and after that, she was getting plenty of more movie trade, people from the movies coming in. And side note, Dolores Del Rio was the first Mexican actress to cross over successfully from Mexican cinema to Hollywood. Her career lasted for over 50 years.
We should talk about her at some point.
I think so too.
The only reference I have for her, and this is going to make me sound really uncultured, is the drag queen Bianca Del Rio.
Oh yeah,
that's like part of her namesake.
I didn't know that.
Dolores Del Rio, and that is the extent of my knowledge of Dolores Del Rio.
I might have to pick her as a subject.
I think that would be great. I'd love to learn more about Dolores Del Rio. Maybe we should do that for a bonus episode, and everybody will.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Speaking of, if you haven't already, make sure you listen to our bonus episode that dropped this last week. If you're a Patreon subscriber.
Her business did incredibly well, so well that her and Richard decided they wanted to move the shop to a larger location. After they moved their shop, the two got married in 1929, and she's about 28 at this point. So she's still fairly young. She's got her own business. She just got married. It wasn't meant to be for the couple, though. Only 11 months after they were married, Richard fell ill with tuberculosis and he died.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he died. He was 37 years old.
Oh,
so he was a little bit older than her, yeah.
But he's young.
Very
That's
young.
My age.
So Richard's death was a terrible shock for Irene. 11 months of marriage. And they had been together for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd known him since she was 19?
Yeah. And she decided to close up her shop. And she wanted to leave California for a little while. So she figured the best place for her to lose herself in work was France.
Oh, I was like, Montana? Oh, no. Oh, no. Fashion.
She's going to France.
France. That makes sense. I don't know why I thought Montana.
So Irene hits the fashion scene in France for 5 weeks. While she's there, she visits the salons
yes,
that house Paris couture. And she studied new ways to cut fabric, shape, and pin clothing. She became very meticulous in hand shaping all of her garments, paying attention to how to complement a woman's shape and not fight against it, down to measuring and perfecting the layouts of even the buttons she would hand sew and plan them out so that it would go with the curve of a body. Mm-hmm. She was truly inspired by what she saw, and when she came back to the U.S., she had a lot of ideas under her belt of what she wanted to do next. So in 1931, she relaunched her boutique and called it Irene Limited and opened it on Sunset Boulevard, that is a main fucking strip.
Yeah, that's where we stayed when we were in LA last year.
Her design boutique quickly caught attention as her garments hit the streets. People saw them where'd you get that? Where'd you get that kind of thing? She was gathering up steam, but had yet to make like a huge break. Like, she's making money, but she wanted more. Her break came when a popular French actress named Lily Damita. She liked her clothes so much, she asked Irene if she would possibly be able to design an entire wardrobe for a film that she was about to shoot called Goldie Gets Along. Irene took the job, and the clothes in the I watched a little bit of the movie and watched looked at some stills, and the clothes look actually really modern. Like the cuts are the actress is pretty petite. And so the clothes are cut very nicely. Like they shape around like her little tiny arms, and like the collar and the cut of the shirt just looks really like deliberate. Like it's not just a freaking shirt. Like you could see that there's a lot of effort into it.
It was customized to the body.
Yeah. And in the beginning of the movie, like the girl is like, she's a small town girl that's running to the big city to become a star. And then she gets to the big city and runs into the small town boy that she dumped to go to the big city. So it's like a kind of a comedy romance of like him and her falling in love again. And she kind of matures throughout the movie. So like her wardrobe matures. Like in a dancing scene, she's got this like really elegant ball gown on, but it's really like a little revealing for the time. Like it's a really deep plunge neckline. It's completely backless. It's all black silk.
And this is in the 30s?
Yeah.
I
know. I was like, she's showing a lot of skin. I was like, that's why I'm saying it's just like, it looked modern to me. After her clothing appeared in Lily Damita's movie, other Hollywood actresses became interested in her clothes. Her shop and the quality of her garments also got the attention of a Los Angeles department store called Bullock's Wilshire, which is kind of a weird name for a store. Bullock's.
It's probably somebody's last name.
Yeah. It was an upscale store that at the time was the pinnacle of style and opulence. They were struggling a little bit to get like new blood in there, like fresh ideas and garments. They had their clientele, but it was like kind of older women. And they're like, okay, we need to change things up a little bit. They asked her if she would move the operation to the department store, and together they would open up a boutique in the style of the French salon.
Ooh.
So clients would come in and sit with Irene and her team while designs were modeled for them. She had like original designs. So she would have a model come out and they would discuss the clothing. They would customize it to the customer. They would have it tailored. They would also have access to the entire store's goods to create an outfit. So shoes, hats, bags, jewelry, all of it. And they all do it in the privacy of the salon. So it's like this intimate one-on-one shopping experience. This idea would be groundbreaking because it had never been done before in the U.S. This was the first ever designer/retail store partnership of its kind. And from then on, her store brand and even herself was just simply known as Irene. She went as a single name artist.
Yeah. That's like Prada.
Exactly.
Balenciaga.
Mm-hmm.
Chanel.
Hermes. The move to Bullock's Wilshire not only elevated the demand in her clothing, it raised the prices, because duh. Mm-hmm. She was amazing at tailoring a woman's suit. That was kind of her niche.
Oh my God, can we have her make me one?
And especially a suit coat. She was fucking fantastic.
All I've ever wanted is a custom-made fitted suit.
Me too.
For me. But I don't want it until my breasts are gone, because I have tried and I just look like a waiter. Like a waiter at a fancy event, but a waiter. Because my boobs are always like popping out of the shirt.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't look good.
I would love just like a collared shirt with a suit jacket and nice pants, but someday.
Someday.
She would create these jackets with angles a little sharper, a little bigger in the shoulders. And she would taper it down to the waist to create like that tapered waist look. She would design unique necklines, not just a straight collar. She would do like little keyholes, or she would cut shapes into the necklines. She did really unique collars and button placement, all to complement the individual woman's shape. In 1934, an original tailored suit by Irene would have cost you about $400 to $700.
Oh my God, and that was in what year?
1934.
Lucas, I'm going to cry, but please tell us how much that would be today.
A suit that cost $400 in 1934 would cost $7,858.75 in 2020, and a $700 suit in 1934 would be $13,752.82 in today's dollars.
She could cut a suit, but her gowns were a different story. She liked light fabrics, lace, always almost like an ethereal draping, but then she'd switch it up. She would do a tight tapered waist with like a big skirt and no shoulders, like a strapless gown. Or then she would tighten the fabric all the way down the body shape, all the way down to the ankles. And so she did a variety of things. And I think that's why people liked her so much, because she offered, who wants to wear the same dress?
Right.
Nobody. Who wants to wear the same suit over and over?
Yeah, it reminds me of like Christian Siriano's designs, which to me are so flattering on a female silhouette, and he actually is one of the few designers out there who works with a wide variety of body shapes,
which is really freaking rare,
including Billy Porter. I mean, I just really admire his work and his ethics.
He's come a long way since Project Runway.
You know, I rewatched that season. Killer.
Yes.
He was killer then.
Yeah.
He was 21 and he was a little punk.
But he knew what he wanted. He had a vision.
Knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And now he's a good person too. You know, I follow him on Twitter. Love him.
While working her salon, she began receiving commissions from production companies and movie stars themselves to create wardrobes for films. Ginger Rogers hired her to create her costumes for Shall We Dance, which she starred next to Fred Astaire in that. Her friend Dolores Del Rio hired her for her film Flying Down to Rio. And a few other stars. Let's just see if you know who these are.
Just throw some names out. I mean, they may be small peanuts.
Marilyn Monroe.
Holy shit.
Ava Gardner. Carol Lombard. Hedy Lamarr. Rita Hayworth. Ingrid Bergman. Just to name drop.
Just to name a few. Like, that means that she was really, like, the designer of the day.
Yes. In 1939, she was traveling to Paris for fashion shows and had been featured in British Vogue, and they called her the California Elegance.
I just feel like that sounds like a drag house, like a ball house.
That would be ideal.
House of California Elegance.
California Elegance. And some of the companies that she was working for was Paramount Pictures and Columbia Pictures, so not some shabby studios.
Yeah, the biggest studios in the game.
I'm going to stop for a minute and I'm going to show Amanda some of the garments.
Okay, so Rita's showing me a photo of her, and she's got like really sharp lines on her face. I see what you meant about what you were talking about earlier. Like just a really strong jawline, really sharp features, really sharp nose. Almost masculine features, which I always appreciate and wish I had. Oh, so in this first picture, she looks like on set or in a salon, and she's like looking at a woman who has tried on one of her garments, and the photo is taken actually as in the reflection of the mirror. Oh yeah, so she wore like women's suits for herself. Oh my gosh, I am in love with this. So there's this woman wearing like a tailored jacket and pencil skirt and just looks so elegant. Holy, how big is that waist? Like 9 inches? My God. And then there's a photo of a girl wearing a very like, you can just tell like floaty taffeta.
Almost like a dancer's dress.
Yeah, it looks like a dancer's dress. It's obviously like very romantic. So the photo I'm looking at now has like a slinky gown that's not made of like a satiny material, but lays in such a way that looks like it is. And it's got this really great like beadwork that's been sewn across the waist to look even slimmer. But the coolest thing about it is that it has all the way to the floor, same material jacket. And it's got that same applique that's going across the shoulder. And the shoulder is very strong. It's like squared off, very strong jacket. This woman is wearing like this incredibly feminine, light, floaty, airy dress, but looks like she could like own the world. I personally love fashion. I have a good eye. I'm just lazy. So I don't do a lot myself. I do sometimes, but like...
I do sometimes. I have a hard time picking... I can sometimes get really bold. Like one time I got a shawl that had like tassels on it. And I was like, can I pull off fringe? And I was like, I can fucking pull off fringe. And so then I wore it all the time. But then there's other times where I'm like, is this t-shirt okay?
Yeah, and honestly, I fall into like ruts where I just wear jeans and a t-shirt and a sweatshirt and my Sauconys every day.
We get dressed up sometimes though. We dressed up for your birthday.
I know, and like I like personally like doing that, you know, and putting that effort into an outfit and a look and a whatever. When I was younger, I really struggled with that because my gender dysphoria would like come up against that, you know, and now I can let go and just, you know, lean into it. There's something freeing about it is what I'm saying. It's like, I can now do a really feminine look and not feel imprisoned by it.
It's awesome.
But it does obviously then mean that I'm just going to get misgendered a lot, but that's okay.
Around this time, her friend Dolores Del Rio introduced Irene to her brother-in-law, Elliot Gibbons. Dolores was married to Cedric Gibbons, the head art director for MGM, and this is his brother. Elliot was a writer, an assistant director, and an avid flyer. In a conversation, Irene was like, I want to learn how to fly. And he's like, well, I can show you. So then they were spending all this time together while she was trying to learn how to fly. On New Year's Eve in 1934, he ends up proposing to her. The two marry in 1936. She continued her flying lessons. She's like, this wasn't just to get a date. Like, I really want to do this. And so she ended up getting her private pilot's license, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Things are going well for her, but she is not completely happy with the financial arrangement she's in with Bollocks Wilshire. I'm not really sure what it was, but it was enough that she's considering to remove herself from the arrangement. So I don't know if the overhead was too much or they weren't paying her enough or she wasn't being treated well. I honestly kind of don't know what happened. So when this happens, Louis B. Mayer, who's the chief executive at MGM Studios at the time, you know that name? Mm-hmm. He lost his costume department head, who just went by Adrian, another single name artist. Adrian was moving on to open his own fashion house. So Mayer requests a meeting with Irene. She thinks he's just going to like call her in to like maybe like talk about some gowns or something like that for a movie. He actually offers her the head position of the costume department for MGM.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. Of course, Irene accepts the position, but she wants to make it clear that she wants to do this on her own terms. So I kind of feel like that Bollocks Wilshire may have been a little shady or something.
Yeah, it seems like she must have learned something about business or what have you that made her want to do things differently.
Hollywood.
Yep.
Even though she had drawn this line in the sand, Irene had a hard time working for MGM. She was firm in creating quality, not quantity. And she said she wanted her pieces that were going to be on screen to be amazing. The other executives just wanted her to bang out pieces at the lowest cost possible.
And yeah, they cared about the bottom line.
Oh yeah.
It's a profit. You want to make a profit. It's a business.
It was a constant battle for her. Also, she had to battle her brother-in-law, Cedric, who was the art director for MGM. So she's working with family. And apparently he was extremely difficult to work with.
Oh, cool. What a fun, like, family Christmas they must have.
And Irene was often overwhelmed with how demanding he was. As well as work going south, so did her marriage.
Well, I imagine that, like, working with your husband's brother and kind of hating him wouldn't be great for your marriage.
No. One of her best friends was Doris Day. And Doris wrote later in her memoir that Irene had confided in her how unhappy she was in her marriage with Elliot. He would take off too. He would leave out of state and leave her alone, and they would just kind of go their separate ways, and then he'd come back and visit. So they really were getting distant. Irene also admitted to Doris Day that she had a brief affair with the actor Gary Cooper.
Oh.
Yeah. And she believed that he was the real love of her life.
A lot of people feel that way about Gary Cooper.
Yeah. Despite being questioned on her designs at work, much of her work that appears on film was the piece that Irene had intended to be on screen. In one case, it was the idea to establish a color for a character throughout a film. This was for the film called The Postman Always Rings Twice, which I'm sure you've probably seen with Lana Turner.
I haven't actually seen it, but I know of it.
So the thing about establishing a color for a character, the only time that I've ever heard of that was watching the commentary on Breaking Bad. So the art director and the costume directors purposely have Walter White start out with this beige in season 1 to eventually, as his character basically descends into this madness, the very end, he's all in black. But as you go through his development as a character, you see the colors in his life changing, which I think is brilliant. And they're doing this, like, this is her idea for a costume in the 1940s. Yeah.
I love that when you're being subliminally like communicated in a film or a television show about that character, and you don't even really recognize it or notice it a lot of the time. It just is there, and you don't think about it, and then you're left with an impression of something, and you can't like recall why.
Yeah.
And it's such a great tool in visual art.
I guess there was a 2-piece also that Lana wore in that movie that was a little risque for the times. And honestly, it just looks like high-waisted shorts, like how we see day in and day out now. And they were white, and then it was a white halter top. And I saw the photo of it, and it looks very modern, but I'm sure for that time it was like, whoa.
So does it show a lot of leg?
A lot of leg.
Okay.
All the leg.
So it's like boy shorts?
Yeah, but like almost like scoop cut up on the upper thigh. Yeah, it's pretty nice. In 1946, Irene was chosen by Neiman Marcus to receive an award for distinguished service in the field of fashion. She was going to receive this award alongside Christian Dior, Salvatore Ferragamo, and Norman Hartnell. So
those are big names.
Those are big names.
How do I not know who she is? This is wild.
By the end of the 1940s, though, Irene was getting burned out of the movie industry, but she kept going. She did start to have a drinking problem, though. In 1948, she was nominated for an Academy Award for the Best Costume Design in the black and white film The BF's Daughter. It would be one of 2 nominations that she would receive throughout her lifetime. At this time, Irene decided the next step she wanted to do was manufacturing. I know she was a little bit against it at first, but she saw this as not selling herself out, but being able to bring her garments into more people's lives. Not everybody can afford the salon experience, so this is where you can go to a store and buy her line.
Yeah, so she wanted to do some commercial.
Yeah, so she was going to start doing ready to wear. She assembled a group of over 20 luxury department stores, including Bergdorf Goodman, Marshall Field, and Neiman Marcus. She would keep 51% of the shares of the Irene brand, while her backers would take 49%. Part of this deal was that the stores would get exclusive rights to all of her designs. Sounds like a good deal. She's keeping the majority power of her company. She would work her own business for the next 15 years, and while still working for MGM, she was also still commissioning pieces for select stars. She didn't do it for everybody, just kind of her favorites. And I'm going to do a little trigger warning here. I am going to talk about suicide. So if anybody doesn't want to listen to this part, I'd fast forward maybe a minute. So everything came to a head in 1962. And on November 15th, she checked herself into the Knickerbocker Hotel in Hollywood under a fake name. She drank 2 pints of vodka.
Oh my God.
She tried to cut her wrists and it didn't work. So Irene ended up throwing herself out of an 11-story window. Yeah.
Oh my God. That is heartbreaking.
She was found a couple hours later and she was dead. And there was a note in her room that said, "I am sorry to do this in this manner. Please see that Elliot is taken care of. Take care of the business and get someone very good to design. Love to all, Irene."
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
She was 3 weeks shy of her 61st birthday. Yeah,
Wow.
tragic.
That is really tragic and sad.
So there are many speculations surrounding Irene's death. Some say it was work. I guess her husband had just suffered a stroke, so some were saying it might have been because her husband had just fallen ill. Others say that perhaps it was that Gary Cooper had died the previous year.
Oh.
And Doris Day did say that her drinking spiraled immensely after Gary died.
Wow.
So in the end, nobody knows why, but Irene. After her death, Irene fell into obscurity. It's only now that many revere her as one of the greatest designers to live during the golden age of Hollywood. Her designs and pieces can be seen in over 40 films, donned by some of the most famous women in cinematic history. In 2014, there was a costume designer named Greg Lavoie. He discovered an original vintage piece by Irene, and he decided her clothes needed a resurgence. He went all over eBay, all over shops in Hollywood to find vintage pieces of Irene's collection. He ended up owning about 500 pieces of her clothes.
Wow.
Yeah, he was obsessed. So with permission from her estate, he's relaunching some of her designs. Her famous tailored jackets, beaded coats, and gowns. Lavoie said that she is the least best-known costume designer and that her work deserves to be seen again.
Agreed.
So I got my info from The Chic Life and Tragic Death of a Revered Costume Designer by Elizabeth Sneed for The Hollywood Reporter. A Sequel for Irene by Vincent Boucher for the LA Times. Irene Lentz, pioneer of an American luxury fashion brand. I couldn't find in the article who wrote it. So I'm sorry if I missed whoever wrote that article.
And where was it at?
That article, I believe, was part of an IMDb link. Then another article called Designer, Irene, Raised in Baker, Wowed Hollywood by Brian D'Ambrosio from the Montana Mint, The Last Best News. Irene, a designer from the golden age of Hollywood, the MGM years, by Frank Bellecci and Lorianne Fisher. So I know it didn't end on a happy note, but she did. I mean, it doesn't always, but she was a brilliant designer.
You said the man in the like 2014 who wanted to have a resurgence, his name was Lavoie.
Lavoie.
So what did he do with all the I know he found all this stuff, but what did he do with it?
He ended up he proposed his idea to other companies. And so what he did was he got them to all back him in a project. So he designed a bunch of different, based on her original designs, new jackets, new coats, new gowns. And then he did a big show. And then they're also available on his website to purchase. They go from like a $400 jacket to like one jacket was beaded all by hand and it was 17 grand. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So from the low end to the high end.
You mean that jacket is the same price as a car?
Yep.
You could have a car.
Or you could have a jacket.
Or you could have a jacket. Oh my God, capitalism. I think that's really cool that he did that. And with permission from her estate.
Mm-hmm. And he has it all under her name because her full credit.
And she didn't have any children, right?
Nope.
Did her company continue? Because in her note, she asked that they hire a new designer.
I don't think her company continued. That's why she kind of disappeared from people's memories.
Yeah. It's wild to me that I've never heard of her.
And also, too, most of her first films, because she was asked as favors, to do the wardrobe, she's uncredited as the wardrobe designer.
That is infuriating to me.
That she even just did the work. They couldn't have just put her in there. Just costume design by. That's all you have to say.
Yeah, I mean it's just a credit. It doesn't necessarily mean whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's irritating to me. I really get upset when I find out that like you've used someone's artistry and creativity and given them zero credit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really did fall in love with her outlook on how she approached design and the stuff that she came up with. I love that it was so diverse. She also, too, her people around her said that she was very quiet. Mm-hmm. And she's a little shy. I just feel like she was just, I'll show you a picture later, but there's a picture of her working on a design where she's holding a pencil and she's got like her hands in her hair and she's staring down at the piece of paper, and you can just see that she's deep into an idea, and you can just read it on her. I want to know her.
Yeah, I find her compelling as a character. From this rural upbringing in Montana to
Hollywood,
the biggest studios in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. That's a story that I think a lot of people would find inspiration in. Gosh, her ending is very sad.
Very. And one of the articles that I mentioned said, nobody really knew what was going on in Irene's head for her to do this. But then they also mentioned we didn't know what was going on in Kate Spade's head.
I was just going to bring up Kate Spade.
Yeah. Like you don't know people's lives. You don't know what's going on in their hearts and their heads.
One of the things that I've been learning about and trying to understand better for my own safety is this idea that a lot of people, it's kind of spontaneous. Like more often than not. Mm-hmm. It's not like a well-planned thing. It's like a one day you're fine, the next day you're not.
Yeah. And
I think that's the scariest thing for both the people who are experiencing suicidal ideation and their loved ones. Mm-hmm. It's like you can be doing all the right things and having all the right conversations and then not be there the next day.
Yeah.
I mean, Anthony Bourdain is one of those. Mm-hmm. Chris Cornell.
And she was a peak in her career of mm-hmm. this new company, and she's winning awards, and everybody on the outside thought she was doing great.
And I think that's a really important lesson for people to continuously learn, is that like money does not mean that you're happy. Success does not mean you're happy. You can be the most beloved food, TV personality in the whole world and still not feel fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And so if you're at home right now and you're listening to this and you're like, wow, that's how I feel. It's a good idea to reach out to someone.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I started learning about her, I didn't realize that was how that was going to go.
Yeah, but I had no anticipation that that's how that would end.
Yeah.
When you said trigger warning, I was like, oh no, is she going to get murdered?
Oh no.
I've watched too much ID Network lately.
Oh geez.
Everybody gets murdered in ID Network. Well, thank you for sharing that. That was a really hard story, but so important.
Yeah.
And I really had no idea who she was.
And I'm here for the hard stories too.
Yeah, I am too. Well, thank you everybody for listening to another episode.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And definitely I will include on our social media some pictures of Irene's fashion. They are beautiful.
And thank you, Lucas, for being our wonderful editor.
Thank you, Lucas. And we'd like to thank Jennifer Finch from L7 for our rockin' theme song.
And don't forget to check out our Patreon, our TeePublic store, our social media.
Things.
We have so many things now that you can go check us out on. And as I mentioned earlier, liking and sharing our posts is really one of the best things you can do right now because we are getting just hammered by the new algorithms.
Like, share. Like.
Yes. Anyway, thank you all for continuing to stick by us. We're chugging along.
All right, folks. Till next time.
Bye-bye. Hello, everyone.
Hi there, listeners.
This is Amanda,
This is Rita.
and you're listening to...
I was waiting for you.
I thought you were going to talk.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.